Welcome to Homebrewers Blog. I'm Russ Williams, and you have found us because you are interested in the home brewing process. Thank you. Glad you're here. I'm going to share my knowledge. Now, I'll admit that I'm not the world's best home brewer. I don't purport to be the best home brewer, but I've been doing this for about 12 years, and I make really good wine, and I make really good beer, and in my book, that's really all that counts. So what we're going to do today, we're going to walk you through the process of what equipment that I think you need foundationally to make good wine. Okay, so let's get started. Number one, you need a primary fermenting bucket. Now, some people will tell you that you need a carboy like this one, okay, for your primary fermenting. Well, okay, that's good, but I have been always I have used a bucket, okay? The bucket seems to work really, really good for me. It's just a food grade plastic bucket with a lid that has a hole in it with a grommet that you can attach a bubbler, right, or an air trap. And it's fundamentally to keep stuff from getting in your beer, or excuse me, it's fundamentally a device that keeps stuff from getting into your must and letting CO2 escape at the same time. Okay, it's called an air trap or a bubbler. This is another piece of equipment that you're going to need. Now, you can get these primary fermenters online or at a homebrew supply store, but you could probably find them at some local home improvement store. I don't know. I got mine online. It was just easy. I got a deal on it because I bought it with something else. Anyway, you'll need a primary fermenter and a bubbler. That's foundational to whether you're doing wine or beer. The other thing I'm going to recommend that you do, you don't have to do it, but I really, really do recommend it, is that when you get your primary fermenter, also get a temperature strip. I bought a half a dozen of them because I have more than one brew going at the same time. So I typically have 3 or 4 of these at any one time. Anyway, get a temperature strip so you will know what temperature to pitch your yeast. It's kind of important, okay? Number 2, you'll need a secondary fermenter. Now, I held up my carboy a second ago, right? This is what I use for a secondary fermenter. And you'll notice I've got a steer spoon stuck in my secondary fermenter. That's another piece of equipment that you'll definitely want to acquire. Now, when I first started, I didn't have one of these, so I used a wooden dowel. It worked really well. I just sanitized it. I'll talk about sanitization in a minute. But I went to the homebrew supply store. I picked up this. It wasn't really, really expensive, but I'm so glad I got it. It's been well worth the investment that I put into the steer spoon, because you're going to do a lot of steering when you're doing wine, okay? So what have we got so far? We've got our primary fermenter, we've got our secondary fermenter, we've got our bubbler or our air trap, we've got our lid with a grommet on it, we've got our steer spoon because we're going to do a lot of steering. What else do we need? At some point in your history, you're going to need to move your must from your primary fermenter into your secondary fermenter. So you need some kind of siphon device. Now, I'm going to tell you this: buy a really good one and the big kind, okay? Because these come in a couple of different sizes that I'm aware of. They may come in more, but I know they come in at least 2 sizes. This is the bigger of the 2 sizes that I found. This is a time saver if you get the bigger one, okay? It's simply a siphon pump, and it comes, and you'll also want to pick up a variety of sizes of hoses, okay? Make sure that that you get a hose that will fit on the priming pump portion of your siphoner. Well, when we're done with the process of making wine, we need to move it into bottles. So we need another bucket that's got a valve on the bottom of it to help us move the wine into the bottles. Probably going to have to invest some money to get this. You can make your own. I made the first one I did with wine. Excuse me, I did with beer, and I made my own. I just went and found the valve. I found a bucket that would work. I drilled a hole, put my valve on it, and it was a 5-gallon batch, so I didn't have a problem. But when I started doing wine, I needed to go to a bigger bucket, and I couldn't find one, so I went to the online and I got that guy. Okay, so you got your wine done. It's gone through primary fermentation. It's gone through secondary fermentation. You allow the clearing process to take place, and you're ready to bottle. Oh my God, bottles. We forgot about bottles. Well, don't forget about bottles. You're going to need about 30 of them. I had one batch of wine. I got 32 bottles of wine out of one 6-gallon batch. I don't know how I did it, but I did. So you're going to need to start collecting bottles. Now let me give you a couple of ideas in terms of bottles. Not once have I paid for an empty wine bottle. So what I've done, I've gone to wine bars and told them what I'm doing. And you can do the same thing. Walk into the wine bar, say, hi, I'm making my own wine, and I'm wondering if you've got empty bottles that you could spare. I guarantee you they will say yes. And if they don't say yes, don't go back to that wine bar, okay? Because they're stingy, you know what, okay? So no need to buy wine bottles unless you just don't like the cleaning process. It's part of the hobby for me, okay? I'll collect the bottles, I'll soak them up, I'll scrape off the labels, and I'll put my own labels on them, okay? It's just part of the hobby for me. So up to you, spend the money if you want to, but you can get them for free. Another way you can get wine bottles is on Craigslist. You can just do a search, free wine bottles. People give this stuff away a lot of times. So don't spend money on wine bottles, okay? So you've got bottles, you've got wine, but you're gonna have to have a way to seal up your wine bottle. So you need some corks. A little bit of a rant here. Buy your corks online, because if you go to the homebrew supply store, they're gonna take you to the cleaners, okay? Corks are cheap. I mean, they're either cork or they're rubber, right? It's not rocket science, and it's not gold or silver or diamonds, right? So spend your money wisely, do your due diligence, buy corks cheap, because corks are corks, especially if you're like me. You make 2.5 cases of wine, right? There are 2 cases and some more bottles. You give it away, you drink it, right? You don't need 10-year corks, okay? Rant, done. Glad I got it off my chest. Okay, but how do you get the cork in the bottle? Well, you need a floor corker. Ching. Floor corker extraordinaire. Probably the most expensive item you'll spend in the process, okay? Don't want to spend money on a floor corker? Not a problem. Join a wine brewers club, okay? Join a meetup group. Find like-minded people in your community who are doing wine. Borrow somebody's floor corker. I mean, somebody's got one, I guarantee it. And if you're really, really good with your social skills, you can go into your local homebrew supply store, and especially if you purchase product from them, and especially if you purchased a kit from your homebrew supply store, what you can do, you could probably negotiate borrowing their floor corker to cork your 30 bottles or so of wine. You have an option other than the floor corker. But my recommendation is that if you're going to do 2 cases or a 6-gallon batch of wine, I recommend you get that guy, because it is a time saver. Because here's what I did first. I bought here's the first thing I did. I bought this, and I never used it because I realized that I needed a wife or kids to do this because I was not going to spend the time. You put the cork in here, yeah, press it down. Oh my gosh, you'd spend all day corking. So this is called a Portuguese hand corker. It's not real expensive, but by golly, you'll spend all kinds of time and hard energy corking your bottles. Okay. Now, so we forgot to talk about this guy right here. This is, I call it a dispenser. It's simply a valve. Hose comes from your wine, your dispensing bucket onto your valve. There's a valve at the end of it. You put the valve in the bottle. Here, I'll just demonstrate it for you. Put it in here like this. You push down, the valve releases the fluid. The fluid fills almost to the top. You release it, and you get consistent level of fluid in the bottle every time you do it, okay? One more thing. You want to cook turkeys, okay? So get a turkey baster for cooking turkey. No, it's what I call a wine thief or a turkey baster. I like this method because it's easy to clean. 2 pieces. You can pick this up at the grocery store. Depending on the time of year, you can get them on sale. This is stainless steel. It goes in the dishwasher and sanitizes without having to use special equipment. And I'll talk about sanitation in a minute. I didn't talk about my hydrometer. A hydrometer is the device that measures specific gravity, which tells you how much volume or what volume of alcohol is in your product. So this is one piece. This is a plastic. My first one was glass. I broke it. So I said, no, I'm not going to break anymore. I'm going to get a piece. I'm going to get a plastic one. This guy though, this is your measurer. It's scaled. It's got a gradient scale on it, and it gives you what we call specific gravity. You're going to measure specific gravity at least 2 times during the process. Time number 1 is when you start your wine. Time number 2 is when you think your wine is finished, and it will tell you what your specific gravity is. We'll talk about that in another edition, okay? Before you do anything, right, you need to sanitize anything that's going to come in contact with your must, okay? And this is what I use. I have used this since day 1. It's called WAY single step. Here, I'll show it to you. There you go. See that? Good. Now, I know some of you old guys out there are just screaming at the monitor right now. What? You're not using Star San? You're not using the expensive sanitizer stuff? No, I'm not. I make good wine and a good beer, and I use this exclusively. So no one can tell me that this isn't sanitizer. It works great, okay? So off my chest, right? Good. You guys want to spend money on the expensive Star San or whatever that crap is? Okay, go right ahead, but I have really good results with this guy right there. Okay, last thing you need is product. This is a little kit that I got in just the day before yesterday. It's a Merlot kit. I'm going to zoom in on it because I want to talk about it just a little bit. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's a cheap kit. Shipping and handling, I think I spent like $81 on it. Let's talk about the grape concentrate just for a minute. I have produced wine from both a what we call an all juice kit and concentrate kits. And I will tell you that I've had results, good results, with both of them. Your all juice kit is going to be far more expensive than your concentrate kit. I don't know why, because concentrate actually has to go through a process where your all juice does not. But like I said, I don't know everything about home brewing or, winemaking. I just know what works for me, and the concentrate works just fine. So let me explain the physics just a little bit if you don't know. So concentrate is nothing more than compressed grape juice, or what we call in the winemaking industry, must. Well, the compression process is just a substitute for heat. And so what you're doing in the compression process is removing water from the must. So a concentrate is all of the juice, is just missing some of the water. So in this situation, I've got a 2.5 gallon bag or a box of must. I'm going to add enough water, what is that, 3.5 gallons, to make six gallons of a batch of wine. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it in terms of the equipment. If you have comments, be nice to me. Okay, I don't purport, again, to be the best winemaker in the world, but I am the best winemaker that my friends and family know, and they really enjoy my product. So there that is. Hey, I'll see you on the next episode. Stay tuned and subscribe. Thank you.